Welcome. I am Bill Petrovic, and I'm a SCORE mentor. I'm hosting this webinar, and today's topic is Ask the Marketing Experts. And the people you see on the screen surrounding me are the experts. We have three mentors and one active professional in the public relations area. I'll let each of them tell you who's who. So quick mention, SCORE, we are a volunteer organization. We offer our services, mentoring services for free. We have been offering all of our webinars for free as well. And this is no exception. We're a resource partner with the SBA. And our webinar today will go this way. Each person will review a marketing topic, just sort of to get you thinking about different things and get the discussion going. We'll go one after the other. One person out there has two topics, which is great. The topics are the marketing plan, marketing research, digital marketing, public relations, and integrated marketing. So we're going to end at 1:30. We're going to use the Q&A feature of Zoom for the questions. And you can put your questions in at any time, but most questions, if not all, will be answered at the end of the brief presentations by each of our speakers. Want you to know that the speakers have their own little short deck of slides, all of which will be sent to you for having registered for this, along with a link to a YouTube video that is being made of this webinar. And that comes to you 2 or 3 days after the webinar itself. We have to package up the video and move it from Zoom to YouTube, and that takes a little bit of human intervention. So all those who are watching will get that, and as well, anybody who registered and couldn't make it also receives those links. So and you're welcome to share what we send you with anybody else that you want to share it with. So to get started, I am going to put up Leslie's slides, and Leslie, I'm turning this first piece over to you. So are you ready?
Sure. So, hi folks. I'm really excited to be here today. I have to say, the marketing plan is probably the least exciting topic that you will have today, but it's also a necessary topic. So my background is I worked for a Fortune 500 company for 30-something years in marketing, brand leadership, and actually building brand marketing capabilities. Bill, can we have the first slide?
It's there.
So this is, everybody thinks, gee, why do I have to have a plan? So I'm going to say to you, first of all, that you should have a business plan, and part of your business plan is a marketing plan. But let me just give you 2 examples. There was a man who was a really adept sailor, and he chose to sail the ocean one day. So he got in his boat, started it up, and was headed across the ocean. He has no life preservers, no safety equipment, no flashlight, no compass, no map. Most of us would say that's a foolish endeavor. Let me give you one more example. My husband just walked away, so I'm probably good here. Several years ago, it was around 5 o'clock. My husband and I were both tired, and we said, let's just go out and grab a bite to eat. Now, this is pre-pandemic. So we get in the car, we take off, we start driving, and he's driving kind of fast. And I say, so what's going on? And he says, well, I'm trying to beat the red lights, so we'll get there faster. And I said, well, where are we going? And he said, I don't know, but we're going to get there quick. I'm going to argue to you that's another foolish non-planning situation. When you don't plan, it's harder to get there. It's usually slower, probably inefficient, costly if you make a wrong turn. It's frustrating, and it's typically unsuccessful. So what we're going to do now is look at some building blocks of a marketing plan. Bill, can we do the next slide? So what you see here is building blocks for a marketing plan. Now, I'm going to say to you, you can go to any website that you want to and pick a marketing plan. It doesn't really matter which one, just one that you're comfortable using. What I have here is one that I got off of the score.org website, but again, it doesn't matter. So can I have the next slide? I'm going to focus on 3 of these blocks that you see in yellow. The product and service, the market, the target customer, and I'm going to just touch on business goal for a minute. So as we look at this middle box, the product or service, it's not just a physical thing. It's really what you're offering to the client, that the client is willing to exchange money with you for. So you're solving a need of theirs and they're paying you. That's your product or service. And we typically call this the value proposition. And we'll talk about that in a little bit and just draw it out a little bit further. The market is where we're selling our product. So let me give you some trends today. And then I'm going to talk about a specific business. So trends, the pandemic has made more people work from home. And when you're at home more, you're around your pets more. There's also more dog rescues in the last couple years than ever before, most likely from the pandemic, but for other reasons as well. And people tend to spend more on their pets year after year after year. If I go to product or service, then I want to start by talking about a service that I've used recently, and that's why I'm talking about it today. And this is a veterinarian who specializes in treating dog eye problems. And I'm bringing this up just in case my dogs bark in the background. You'll think that's part of the show. So when I look at the market in which this veterinarian is trying to provide a service, we talked about trends in the market, but let's talk about how someone could resolve their dog eye issues. They might go to a local veterinarian. They might go to a veterinarian who specializes in ophthalmic issues. They could go to Petco or PetSmart or a drugstore pharmacist and say, can I use some of this stuff on my dog? They could go to web-based product stores like Chewy.com, Foster's and Smith. They could go to Amazon. They can Google, how do I solve my issues? They can go to health goods stores. They could go to a veterinary school. There are lots of different ways that they can go about solving their problem. And when I say that, what I'm trying to get across to you is, if you're selling clothing, don't think your competition is only clothing just like yours. It can be a breadth of things. So let's talk about the target customer for this service, which is a veterinarian who specializes in eye care. So the target customer is probably a dog mom or dad, and they need their pet needs treatment for this eye disorder. It's a scratch cornea. And that target customer has to have discretionary funds for paying for that service. If they're living paycheck to paycheck, they probably don't have money to spend on the specialized service. Perhaps they're overly neurotic about their pet's health. They may have already been to their local veterinarian for care. They've Googled all the latest treatments, ratings of doctors and veterinarians. They ask lots of questions. They are frequently women because women make more healthcare decisions than men for the family. So you begin to see who our customer is, who our service is, and we talked about the market. So let me talk a little bit more about that center circle and what we call the value proposition. So for the worried or anxious pet owner, likely a woman, who needs to relieve her stress and worry of her beloved canine whose eye is at risk right now of blindness, the expertise of the primary care vet wasn't enough. And she's looking for someone to relieve her anxiety because they have a proven track record of specialty care for that illness. So, do you see how we've taken those three circles and kind of brought them together? That's where you're going with your marketing plan. But if I look at this, the box on the far right, the business goals, if I don't set goals, it's hard to know if I got to where I want to go. So think about business goals that this veterinarian service might have. It could be that 80% of local veterinarians are aware of him. Maybe 50% of those folks then send him referrals. It could be that he gets 30 new patients a week. It could be that the quality of his service is rated a 4 or a 5 out of a total of 5 in quality by his clients. It could be a dollar goal. What I'm trying to get at is these building blocks help you achieve a business goal. So Bill, can we look at the next slide? And where I want to go with this next slide is that when you've created this plan, what you need to think about is different elements that make up this market and your marketing mix. What you see on the left-hand side of the screen has target market in the middle, and then it has what we call the 4 Ps: product, place, price, and promotion. And all of those will go into your marketing. Now, some people talk about 5 Ps or 6 Ps or 7 Ps. It doesn't really matter. But if you think about your product, we've talked about it already. That includes the packaging. If we talk about the place, that's where am I going to sell it? Is it on the web? Once you've got all your marketing mixed together, then let's move to the right-hand side. So you built your strategy, you created some content, you're going to execute on that content, you're going to distribute it, and then you're going to measure and revise your plan. Let's go to the last slide. So what I've just shown you is the building blocks of the plan, but to really get to the exciting part, let's drill a little bit deeper. And we're going to start with Tom Morgan, who's going to talk about market research. So Tom, you want to take the slides?
Yeah, I'll be happy to. Thank you very much, Leslie. Let me just get this sharing properly. Talk a little bit about market research. Okay. Okay, well, so the objective of the next 5 or 8 minutes or so is to talk about market research just from a pretty high level. We'll define what market research is and talk a little bit more about it, how you as a small business might be able to use it for definition sake. Market research is the systematic gathering and recording and analyzing of data about issues relating to the marketing of goods and services. So while that's the dictionary explanation, essentially what we're talking about is going out and asking customers questions, learning about the market, analyzing the information and the data that you get about the market, your company, your product or service, and then making decisions about what you're going to do with that information. So like it says at the bottom part of the slide, market research will help you get the information that you need to reach your target market, helps you identify who your target market is, who those customers are, and what price they're willing to pay. The next couple of slides are going to talk about using market research to find customers, using competitive analysis to find a market advantage. Then for small businesses, there's a lot of free small business data and information that's available out there. So let's talk about that. So as we talk about these issues, it's important to use the market research to understand your customer base from the outset. It's important to get information so you can better understand what kind of business opportunities you have out there. At SCORE, we have a lot of people that come in and they say, I'm interested in starting this kind of a business, or I have an existing business and this is what we do. And when we dig a little deeper, oftentimes we find out that they need to find out a little bit more about this information. Is there a desire for the product or service, or is it just something that you think is a good idea? How big is the market? Are you marketing it to a specific income range or to an area that's got high unemployment rates, for example? Where do your customers live? If you've got a lawn care business and you want to service it in a certain area and provide lawn care services, what other options are already available to people in those areas? How many lawn care, in this example, how many lawn care businesses are in that area, and what do they pay? So to use market research, there's primary market research and secondary market research. I mean, you can do market research using existing resources, which is secondary market research, or you can do the research yourself. That's primary research. Existing sources, and I'll show you a list in a moment, it can save you a lot of time and energy, but the information from existing resources might not be as specific to your audience as you'd like. You can use it to answer questions that are both general and quantifiable, like industry trends, demographics, and household incomes. Asking consumers yourself can give you more of a nuanced understanding of your specific target audience. But direct research can be time consuming and expensive. You can use it to answer questions about your specific business or customers, like reactions to your small business logo or improvements you can make to the buying experience or where customers might go instead of your business. And there's different methods that can be used for direct primary research, like standing in a mall and taking a survey, or getting a couple people together for focus groups, or doing in-depth interviews. A free tool that a lot of small businesses use is called SurveyMonkey, and you can go to surveymonkey.com and for free create a survey that you send out to people's email addresses and learn quite a bit of information. In fact, I've got a SCORE client who is into African clothing. She's from Northwest Africa, Senegal, and due to confidentiality, I can't give too much information away, but she conducted a survey and asked her respondents, what African clothing do you like? What colors do you like? And would you consider wearing African inspired clothing? Yes or no? And if you do get that, where do you shop now for that clothing? And what, excuse me, is your race? You male or female? And she was able to take a look at this survey information and find out, when they might wear African inspired clothing, and is it more males or females that would be potential customers? Is it white people or African American? And by learning perhaps that it was African American females that might use it in a African celebratory event, that can help her identify her marketing message and who to market it to. As another example, I've got a SCORE client who is designing shapewear, which the females in the audience will understand, the males maybe not, but if you think of Spanx, shapewear, form-fitting clothing, this client did a very good survey asking people, well, what sizes do you wear? Because she was trying to decide, did she make shapewear small, medium, large, extra large, 2X, 3X, 4X, which of course has an impact on what she has her manufacturer create. What prices are you willing to pay for shapewear? And she learned a lot about, colors that were preferred and the material and the fabric that was preferred, and what, styles of shapewear did she want. So, this type of information allows you to use competitive analysis also to find a market advantage, taking a look at the competitive landscape. So we're shifting a little from your business to the competitive landscape to understand things like competitive market share and strengths and weaknesses that you might have, and a window of opportunity to enter the market. Another quick example is that we've got a SCORE client that took advantage of the COVID window of opportunity. They provide mobile car maintenance service that comes to you. So during COVID, while everybody was home, of course, not going to take their car and go to Jiffy Lube or the dealer. This way, somebody could, call mobile pit stop and have them come to their home or their place of business and take advantage of that window of opportunity. And so their challenge now is to, retain those customers and move on. So, doing market research allows you to determine what's your competitive advantage over your competitors. And, the bottom line for market research is to, learn about the pros and cons of your business, their perception of your business, and the competitive landscape. So the last slide here is free small business data, and this will be in the slide deck that you receive. There's a lot of reliable sources that you can get free information and statistics, and you can consider these types of business statistics in your market research and your competitive analysis. We send a lot of SCORE clients to the central library, or if you're in Lafayette or Anderson or wherever, you can go to that library and find competitor specific information for your geography. So a lot of good information there that you can use. And I'll move it on over to Craig for the next topic.
All right. Thanks, Tom. So putting my slide deck up here so everybody can see it. All right, give me a second here. All right. So talking digital marketing best practices, that's kind of what we're going to go through. And so just kind of the state of the industry, what we're talking about is looking at across all of digital, the pandemic has accelerated growth. There's adoption of e-com. So, e-commerce shopping plus 2%, plus 11% of total sales. There's a lot of shopper journey complex. We'll go through some of this examples that I'll show. And then third-party data. So a lot of this may be difficult to understand. And so feel free to drop in questions in the Q&A. But third-party data, so cookies that people install on your internet browser, things like that, they're starting to be disabled. And so it's kind of difficult to track some of people's targeted behavior. And so people are looking for first-party data or ways that we can interact with consumers specifically. And then most recently, Google had an amazing quarter that they just announced. And so, it's amazing to see that, hey, e-com continues to grow, and with that, the digital marketing to support it. This is an example of an overall digital strategy. And so, like Leslie and Tom have talked about more the strategic side, we're going to look at a little bit more of the tactical side. on how to kind of go about this. And so complex journey or funnel, I think you'll notice that it's not just one piece, right? It's not just a TikTok, or it's not just a Facebook. It's not just doing ads. It's multi-pronged approach across many different things. And it's both digital and physical, as far as in the real world, that combined. And it basically takes from people becoming aware of your product or your service, discovering it, and then considering it, purchasing it, service, and then loyalty afterwards. So this is kind of more a consumer-based one. We'll look at here a business-to-business one. And so you can see not as complex, a lot of more kind of face-to-face, if you will, meetings, dinners, things like that, webinars. But once again, it is digital and physical elements that are incorporated in there. And then here's a more basic one, a more simplistic journey or funnel. And so it talks about strangers and kind of working through visitors, leads, customers, and then people that will review and promote. And so once again, I want to remind you that it's a multi-prong approach. It's not just digital, it's digital and physical. And you need to combine both of those to bring together. I think the next one is looking at kind of who your consumer and customer is. And so Tom talked about as far as looking at it from the perspective of research. You know, Leslea looked at it as far as looking at your plan overall. And so for me on the digital side, where's your audience at? And so I'll stress most and your audience or customer, because they can be in any of these areas of this pyramid. You know, they can be on social, they can be in virtual communities like Facebook groups or LinkedIn groups. They can be on blogs, YouTube, things like that. But where are most of your customers? And that's where you want to focus. And so I think we've all heard those stories of somebody did a TikTok and it went viral and it blew up and they got all kinds of sales. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's truly a one and done. And so things continue to shift. And so you want to know what your customer, where they're at and what they're looking for. And so kind of a suggestion is to find one or two, maybe three to focus on and make sure you're doing them effectively. And so Facebook, blog, they're good starts. How you can kind of share content across both of those easily. Stepping through specific ones. So first is the social. So, you know, Facebook, Reddit, YouTube, blogs, all kind of things that you can do socially. And so what's your goal? What type of relationship are you hoping to get with your customer? Where you're putting it out there? What type of content's required? So whether it's text, whether it's visual, video, audio, if it's user generated, and then what are the metrics that you're looking at? So how can you tell if you're going to be successful? And so an example here is from Splenda's Facebook post. And so, you know, they're asking people to share with the hashtag. At the same time, they're providing some content as far as a recipe. And so they're trying to get awareness. They're trying to build engagement as well. They're offering a helpful tip. And so all different things you can look at. I think my main point here is kind of test, learn, and repeat. And so things continue to change. Things continue to shift. So you constantly want to be testing new things, learning how they work with your audience. They may not work, and then repeat accordingly. Next one is email. And so this is a great one to get started with. It's just email marketing. And so once again, what's your goal? What type of relationship do you hope to build? What type of content are you providing? How's your approach? So are you doing a bulk mass one? Are you doing a drip campaign or kind of a journey? Are you doing a very personal to individuals? And then what metrics are you tracking? Are you trying to get more subscribers? Are you trying to get more open rates, click-throughs, traffic, all things like that? And so on the right here, once again, from Splenda, you can see they're doing a promotion one. I think we've all had a promotion email at one point or time. And so they're giving a chance to win, right? And so you click through, you fill out a form for a chance to win. And so once again, they're kind of building that engagement. They're providing a service as far as a chance to win, and then offering expertise with a recipe that uses Splenda. Next one is SEO, SEM. So that's search engine optimization or search engine marketing. And so basically this is traffic generation to your website. And so there's all different types you can do. You can get paid search ads, you can do pay-per-click, you can keywords, backlinks, all those different kind of things. to help kind of get traffic to your website. And so once again, here with Splenda, you can see their sites there. And then to the right, this is SEM Rush, and you can kind of use this as a competitive tool to see what kind of backlinks they're doing, what kind of keywords they're using as well. And so we'll go on to that here in a second. But once again, this is SEO, SEM, search engine optimization, search engine marketing. So once again, a lot of people outsource this. They'll have an agency that'll do this for them. You can obviously do it yourself as well, and we'll provide some of those tools for you. So some of these basic tools, so content distribution. So if you're looking at social, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, there's some tools that you can use that will help push out your content to these different ones. So you make kind of one post and it gets automatically pushed out. Some of these are free, some of these you have to pay for. So Hootsuite, Buffer, Later are some of the more popular ones. Likewise for email marketing or automation, HubSpot, Constant Contact, MailChimp are popular ones. Score uses Constant Contact. HubSpot, MailChimp are decent as well. So website creation, if you haven't created your website, WordPress.org is a great one. Website analytics, Google Analytics, it's free, it's amazing. More data in there than you could ever use. And then competitive research, as we mentioned in the example, so SEM Rush is a great one to kind of look at competitors, people that are using similar keywords as yours. It helps in the research side, as Tom mentioned, to kind of find stuff. And then there's also SpyFu, and then design resources, Canva, Unsplash. Both of those are good ones also. Last one, just want to do the takeaways. So creating an overall integrated digital marketing plan. So Leslie talked, Tom talked about as well. And then knowing where most of your customers are. And then have the goal, what relationship, what approach, what metrics are you looking for to see if you're going to be successful. And then last, test, learn, and repeat. So feel free to drop any questions in the Q&A part. With that, I will turn it on over to Jeff.
Thank you very much, Craig, and thank you all for participating today. I came to this presentation as a result of the president of the Chamber of Commerce of the Greater Lawrence, Brad Klopfenstein, suggested me as the local rep. And so for those of you who are here because you are here with the Lawrence Chamber, welcome, good to see you. And of course, good to see all the rest of you as well. Let me share some slides about public relations strategy and tactics. And I'm also going to talk more on the tactical side as opposed to the planning and goal setting side. But I need to make sure that you know that I completely agree with Leslie and Tom and Craig that you have to have a plan first before you can move forward. If you don't, you're just guessing. So in public relations, I feel it's important that we define it first. Public relations has this very long and wordy definition. I will try to read it and pick out the key components here. And this comes from Cutlip and Center's Effective Public Relations, which is kind of the Bible for those of us who are APRs or accredited in public relations through the Public Relations Society of America. PR is the management function that establishes and maintains mutually beneficial relationships between an organization and the publics on whom its success or failure depends. So that maintains mutually beneficial relationships. That's public relations. And in this situation, as we talk about marketing, effective public relations contributes to the marketing effort by maintaining a hospitable social and political environment. And what does that mean? What that means is that your reputation is really important to you. And if you've got a good reputation because you deliver a good quality product or service that people enjoy and they like, then you've got a good reputation. You can build on that and invite more customers into into your business. So I'm just going to touch on strategy for a moment, but to know that public relations is also something that you want to plan for. And we use this 4-step communications process. I've actually found that you can use this process in pretty much anything, right down to, what's the best way to get your lawn done. Research first, then set goals and develop a plan, then communicate, and then evaluate. And so this actually follows a similar process as what Leslea and Craig kind of outlined for us earlier. And just the key to this is to remember that this is the order in which to go. I can't tell you how many times people would come to me and say, hey, can I get a brochure created? Well, yes, you can, and I have no problem doing that, but it's critical to know why you want a brochure. Who are you communicating with? Who is your audience? What messages resonate with your audience? What do you want your audience to do? So these are the things that go into the research and planning before you get to that communication stage. And then, like other panelists have already said, evaluate. Did what you did work? And if it didn't, how can you tweak it to make it better? So what do PR companies offer? Well, one PR company that I know of, which is mine, Dehler PR, which has been around since 2011. We offer communications planning. We do community engagement work. We do some informal research. That's different than formal research, which is more surveys and that sort of thing. We do focus groups. We do informal research, such informal surveys like SurveyMonkey. Branding work, public affairs, crisis communications, media relations, tactics, just building your website or whatever. So some of these things stray into other areas. Some of them stray into marketing. Some of them stray, like public affairs, strays into legislative work. Pure public relations is more about some other things, and we'll talk about it in a minute. The last thing that was listed, tactics, are some of the things that Craig talked about. Print communications, electronic communications, social media, video, events, a wide variety of different things that you can do to be able to reach your audience. So what is public relations? And earned media is one definition, and earned media is something that is an article that appears in a newspaper or a story that appears on a radio station or a television station. It's different than paid media, which is advertising in those things such as television or on the web or on radio or in the newspaper. Paid media is where you buy an advertisement. Earned media is where you maybe send a press release or call up a reporter and say, hey, something really great happened in my organization that I need to let you know about. And they might consider that to be newsworthy. And you'll now get quote unquote free advertising through that earned media. Another thing that public relations is building relationships, and especially when that's B2B. But more on that in a bit. These things lead to increasing your reputation and preserving it. So how do you do it? How to do public relations, especially when it comes to earned media? You can't just communicate about nothing. You have to do something or give something or win something or be something before you can tell people about it. So here's some examples. There's no doubt in my mind that this story in the Indianapolis Star about Butler University receiving a $10 million gift from the Lilly Endowment is because the Lilly Endowment sent a news release to the Indy Star and said, here's what we did. And Lilly Endowment has an incredible reputation. They are very supportive of companies and organizations in the Indianapolis and Indiana area, and for that matter, across the country. They have an amazing reputation, and it's because they do incredible work. and then they tell people about it. The pandemic has been difficult, as we know, on restaurants. But the Blue Lagoon Jamaican Kitchen, which is in Oaklandon, up here near Lawrence, near where I am, did a great job of telling their story and convincing Wish TV to do about a 3-minute article or news story on their business. And this kind of content is something that TV stations, radio stations, and newspapers are looking for. And so they had a great story to tell. They ended up with a great story on Wish TV. Ribbon cuttings are events that you can do, especially, of course, as a new business. Sometimes there's a reopening when maybe there's new management or something like that. Here we have Mayor Collier from Lawrence, along with Brad Kloffenstein to the left, our president of the Greater Lawrence Chamber, and they're doing a ribbon cutting. And this is kind of a guaranteed media event, at least for local media. And maybe not so much, if it's a smaller business, not so much for the major TV stations, but surely for the local newspaper. Sometimes you're just looking to get something done, like we're having a fundraiser at the YMCA, and you get the fundraiser going, and you obviously your goal is to raise money, but at the same time, you are raising awareness about your organization. And so when you're doing some advertising for something that you're doing, whether in this case it's having a gala, or let's say that that your company has chosen to pair with or partner with a local nonprofit, and you're going to try to raise some money for that local nonprofit. Here's your opportunity to have an event and be as being a sponsor of that. Your company gets some mileage out of the promotion of that or publicity of that event. Finally, in this category, Roche Diagnostics, if you go on their website, they've got a very long list of awards that they have won. So here's the Military Friendly Top 10 Employer Award and the World's Best Workplaces Award. Every time one of these things occurs, and it takes some time to put your name out there, to apply for these awards, there are some hoops that you have to jump through. But if you're fortunate enough to win some awards, talk about it. Tell people that you're building your reputation by showing that you're award winning. What more is public relations? Let's talk now about the relationships. This is me pre-pandemic attending a Greater Lawrence Chamber of Commerce meeting where the governor spoke, and so long ago that I have different glasses and I don't have a beard and my hair is short. But this is a great opportunity for B2B. Get out there and talk to other business owners. See how you can help them. See how they can help you. Learn about them. Do that networking. Be a part of your community. When you're a part of your community, that also builds your reputation. They say, hey, this person, this organization cares about the community in which they live and work and do business. That kind of thing is setting that political and social environment in a positive way so that you can increase sales of whatever it is that you're trying to do. What are other ways to get out of the community? Sponsor a hole at the golf tournament, be a part of the parade. There's lots of things that are happening in the community that you can jump into and do things like, give away some tchotchkes that, your stress ball, or, you can't see this very well on my camera, but it's a letter opener thing with a branded name on it. There's lots of ways that you can get out and be a part of the community. And it all comes down to telling your story. So how do you tell your story? And in some cases, this is where PR kind of merges with marketing. Write a news release and send it to the media. It doesn't have to be super professional looking. It is telling your story. You want to effectively tell your story by covering the who, what, where, why, and when, and how. But let people know that you're doing something, and then follow up with those news media that you maybe sent an email to or tweeted to. Follow up with a phone call or something to remind them that you're out there. And news organizations are hungry for content. Newsrooms are getting smaller and smaller. Reporters are fewer and fewer. It's harder and harder to fill up the pages of the newspaper or the time in the news, in the half-hour news on television. So they're looking for you to provide content, and they're happy to share it. So it's a valuable opportunity. But we also do in public relations, email marketing and social media and advertising, et cetera. You're telling your story, and this leads to the next presentation, which is Tom talking about integrated marketing. And so I'm going to stop sharing and turn it over to Tom. Good luck.
Thank you. Let me just get things oriented here. Thank you, Jeff, for that presentation. And just as a reminder, as I'm getting this set up, put in your questions for the Q&A portion that follows this. We look forward to having that discussion with you. This section is to talk about integrated marketing communications. And with this, also called IMC, it in my mind is one of the key, most important portions of marketing. This next slide here, it might be a little bit busy, but it talks about all the various marketing channels. And the various marketing channels you'll see are listed around here, just to name a few, social media and email marketing and direct mail, websites, videos, etc. But all of those various marketing opportunities are called marketing channels, and the selection that you make of these different marketing channels is called your marketing mix. So the key part is stated over here on the left with integrated marketing is to, across your marketing mix, those channels you use, so make sure you've got consistent messaging, consistent branding, consistent benefits and timing. That consistency is what's key when it comes to building your brand. An analogy, if you'll allow me, would be, imagine that you're attending a recital of an orchestra, and that melodious symphony comes from the collective sound of all the instruments. Every instrument has a specific task. The goal is to have them come together in a way that produces beautiful music. Well, integrated marketing communication is similar. Here, advertising might be your violin, social media might be your piano, public relations might be your trumpet, and so on. So IMC is defined as the process of organizing, planning, and monitoring of the marketing mix and the data to control and influence the brand information to make that nice symphonic sound, if you will, to your customers. And it's very advantageous to do that. Through coordinating that is so important. And it involves the coordination and integration of all the marketing tools into a single program, which leverages the effect on end users and customers at a minimal cost, which is important to all small businesses. And some of the benefits is that integrated marketing communication, IMC, it aims to develop and maintain a healthy mutual relationship with the customer. And this is particularly important for maintaining brand value, since modern customers today, they expect to be able to interact with brands before, during, and after a purchase of a product or a service. In other words, IMC builds the relationships that builds brands. IMC is consumer centric. That's why on this circle, you'll see your customer is in the middle, because that it implies that IMC lays the emphasis on meeting the needs of the target market by considering the customer and listening to customer feedback. It also increases profits through improved effectiveness at the grassroots small business level, a singular message would have more impact than a plethora of different messages. And in a fast-paced life, a concise and simple message stands a better chance of making it through the thousands of advertisements and clutter that bombards consumers on a daily basis. So I can't stress enough the way integrated marketing going forward will be so important, because it does provide a holistic approach towards branding. And by coordinating the aspects of your marketing mix to promote your product or service, it enables spot-on execution and succeeding across the multiple platforms that you decide to utilize. And it's crucial, to promote your brands among the end users, not only to outshine the competition, but also to survive in the long run. And with the increased need of penetration and brand awareness, more and more companies are exploring newer ways to market their products. This trend of brands going all out in advertisements, campaigns, and digital activities across the marketing mix is only going to increase and become more frequent. So it's safe to conclude that IMC is here to stay. So I'll leave you with an example. I think we all know about Campbell's soup, and they often across their marketing mix talk about something that is good, right? And so they typically use that good slogan in print ads, that places in newspapers and magazines and ads on the internet and commercials on TV, website, radio. It all delivers a consistent information about the Campbell's brand and their organization to establish it in the minds of the consumers and potential customers across target markets. So just for an additional flavor, here's a very short video.
Campbell's chicken noodle possibility. Slurp noodle broth, slurp some more. Good, that's for sure. Slurping fun in every way. Wholesome Campbell's makes their day. Possibilities.
So you can see that commercial we just watched. In the middle here is their Campbell's website, and of course, right on the homepage, good. When you look on Facebook, you may not be able to see it very well, but they're describing their company as something that is providing good, and it talks about remembering when you're little and mom was opening a can of soup and she gave you something delicious. So it's trying to evoke that emotion, and that's also reflected in this comment down here that came from I believe it's their website, that it's a consumer testimonial. Just opened my can of chicken noodle soup, and I want to say thank you. I can always depend on bringing great memories of my mom serving it to us 4 kids when we were sick, or just really on a cold Oklahoma day. So that is to give you a flavor of integrated marketing with a big company like Campbell's. But Campbell's Soup started as a small family business. So just something to keep in mind. And we look forward to answering your questions. That's the end of my portion there. So we'll all come back, and I'll stop sharing and hand it off to Bill so that we can answer your questions.
That Campbell's soup thing reminded me of Jeff's presentation. They convinced you to show an ad for their product for free to our clients here. So that's how it works. That's like guerrilla marketing. They got something for free, and that's the way it works. Yeah, we've got some great questions here, and that's what we're going to do for the next half hour is talk about them. One question that came in right away, the person who put it in was very clever and realized here's a chance to get 4 people to chime in on her issue, and it's quite simple. Hey, I have a cleaning business. Give me some ideas for marketing. Give me some ideas. Go around the horn here and take each of you say something about this.
Can I start?
Yep.
It's a great question, but for me, it starts with how does your cleaning service differ from other cleaning services? And then who are your likely clients? So I wrote down some things that could be why you're different. Maybe you offer green products. Maybe it's your locale. Maybe it's your pricing. Maybe it's the years of service in this industry. Maybe it's who you hire. Maybe it's that you do COVID viral cleaning. Maybe you're minority owned, but you got to figure out how you're different before you can figure out where you're going.
Great. Jeff,
Yeah.
you want to say something?
I love a couple of the things that Lesley mentioned as far as differentiating yourself, and then once you've identified how you're different, then who are your audiences? Because that the key that Lesley is getting at there is that you can more easily target who you are advertising to or trying to reach if you know that you have a niche that you're that you're interested in. You know, everybody is not a target. It's very difficult to reach the general public. It's a lot easier to say, this is the profile of my customer. I love one of the things you mentioned, Lesley, like if you're a minority owned, often you've got a kind of a built-in audience that might say, I trust this person because of who they are. And so that's where that reputation thing comes in, is trust. It's I trust you because it's the way, you know, it's who you are, it's what you do, and then and so that being targeted as far as who you're trying to reach is really important.
Tom?
Yeah, I actually happen to have a SCORE client that is in the cleaning business. So to build off of what Lesley and Jeff said, you know, she evaluated her strengths and weaknesses, looked at the marketplace, networked, and decided, okay, you know, am I going to be a residential cleaner or commercial cleaning? Sort of to Jeff's point, and she's woman owned as well. And she decided to focus on commercial cleaning. And she also, when COVID started, went, and I think the company was Clorox, I could be mistaken, but she got a special certification for, you know, sanitation and, you know, giving deep cleans and things like that. I can't articulate it because, you know, she's the expert in the space and I'm not, but she got the special certification for the deep cleaning of, you know, commercial office space, and used that to further differentiate herself. And she went around in terms of getting customers. She did some market research, found commercial property management companies, and contacted commercial property management companies, you know, that have these big, you know, commercial buildings full of offices, and went and presented her services and prices and services, you know, to these commercial offices. And interestingly enough, not only did she get more business, but she also discovered that you know, all the office buildings, you know, I mean, many of them were closed, but, you know, some restaurants that were still open and other commercial places that she went to, they had cleaners, but they weren't certified in this special deep cleaning. So they would have a different company, you know, whatever, empty the waste baskets and mop the floors and do the carpeting and whatever they would do, but then hire her special to come in and do her, you know, special sauce, her magic, whatever that may be, with the antiseptics and, you know, complete deep clean and whatever that entailed. So, you know, it goes to knowing the market, knowing yourself, what segment you're going to go after, and how you can, you know, say, hey, I've got a competitive advantage and here's what it is.
I love that, because both from Jeff and Tom, it's once you talk to your customers, you begin to see what they think about your differentiation. In Tom's case, he went out and talked to people who identified or helped her identify a strength that she didn't even know she had. So now she can go back and find other clients and use that as her value proposition.
What one interesting, a couple questions have popped up while you've been answering this. And one of the questions, and Craig, I'm not precluding you from answering this, but I wanted to get this on the table so you can think about this. That part of marketing, I think, is sales, or at least you got it. There's some sales that ends up being important here, and the question is, how do I actually get them to agree to hire me? How do I convert them from a prospect to a customer? And I'll let Craig, you can go and finish the first part of this, but think about that other piece, because all the great marketing in the world, if you don't land any customers, what's the point?
No, for sure. And everybody's given great pointers. I don't have a lot to add beyond that. I think for me, it is kind of that conversion of, you've talked to people, right? You've targeted some of them. Are they close to where you're at location wise? You know, have you used some of the resources that Tom mentioned as far as in research? You know, do you have an established base that you can just get a referral as well? You know, referrals are a lot easier to convert than just cold calling somebody. But yeah, it's kind of tracking that and seeing where you're getting most of your customers from, and then how can you expand more in that area. You can always try and go to a different area. It's a little harder, but that's an area for growth as well. But yeah, no, all great suggestions so far.
So Bill, it's interesting because you say, is sales part of marketing or not? And people argue that all the time. And in the end, who cares, as long as everyone is selling? I mean, we all sell all the time. And any owner of a business had better be selling. They're selling their reputation, they're selling everything. But one of the things that hit me was, in sales, what you're trying to do is, someone has decided the branding, the marketing message, and then your sales, however that occurs. If you have salespeople, they're your face, but it could be online, it could be through whatever channel. What you want to be sure is that your potential client has a good experience. So providing the customer experience is what you're trying to do. You don't sell a product, you sell the experience that the client has from using the product. And that's easy to forget, and that's the most important part of selling.
If I can chime in on that, that's the what's in it for me deal. And that's who we are as human beings. That's what we care about. What's in it for me?
Right.
No matter what it is, and whether it's a product or a service or a political candidate, what's in it for me? What am I going to get from this? And I don't want to sort of belabor this. We want to make sure to get to the rest of the questions, but I'm excited about this whole topic because one of the things that Craig might be able to help us address is, when you talk about closing the sale, first, you have to help people become aware of who you are and what you're offering. And sometimes before they are willing to commit to buying something, they're not quite there yet. They need more information. Maybe give me something first.
Yeah.
So there's this content marketing strategy, and I'm putting in the chat this resource. If you want to read a fun book about content marketing, Jab, 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 Right Hook, How to Tell Your Story in a Noisy Social World by Gary Vaynerchuk. The theory is, especially with maybe some of the younger generations, prove it to me. Tell me that I'm going to get a good experience. Tell me you really are going to give me something that's going to be good for me, that I'm going to, and so 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 the jab is you give something, you give something, you give something. You might give away 3 things, and then the right hook comes in, and now you have the opportunity to close the sale. So there's a lot that goes into it. It's a good read if you're interested in learning a little bit more about content marketing. And a lot of the content marketing is done through digital. And so I don't know if Craig, if you want to add anything to that, but I just love the whole concept of content marketing.
Yeah, no, content marketing is great. I think you saw probably in some of the examples, right, as far as the Splenda, that they were giving pieces, right? They were giving recipes, they were giving how-tos, and it's basically, you're becoming that expert. You're becoming more trusted as a supplier, as a business, what have you. And in that journey, in that funnel, right, you're moving people along that, okay, you've got some initial awareness. Now I'm beginning to trust. Now I'm more likely to convert. And then, yes, what is that final thing? Is it a 10% off? Is it something like that that finally helps kind of convert them to the sales? And it's very dependent, right? As far as what business you're in, the person as well. And so you kind of working through that funnel, you test things to see what works best with your audience specifically.
I'm going to shift the topic here because there's a lot of different facets to what we've talked about today, but there's been a number of questions just related to SEO, SEM, which was brought up. And one of them is the simple question, I realize I need help with SEO, SEM. What do you recommend? How do I do that? Do I come to SCORE? Do I hire somebody? Where do I go next?
Yeah, so for that question, obviously a very common question. You hear the buzzwords, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to do it? And for me, it goes back to that research part of it, right? So are your competitors out there online with their website, and are they doing SEO and SEM? And so then you can see, hey, can it be a competitive advantage for me? Or is it just table stakes, right? My competitors are doing it, I got to at least match them. And that'll kind of help understand, hey, is it worth going down the path? And then from there, obviously SCORE can mentor you and help provide resources. At the same time, you can try and teach yourself. There's plenty of classes, online classes that you can learn, through SEMrush. They have an academy that you can do free classes and learn some on it. And then at the same time, there's agencies that will do it for you. I know there's been some questions maybe about a going rate, if you will. It depends what you want done. And so, it can vary anywhere from kind of an hourly contract to an engagement across, 3-6 months, especially for SEO, usually because it takes a while to build. And, that's anywhere from like $75 an hour to a contract that's, thousands of dollars as well.
Yeah, that also gets to the question of, should I hire somebody or should I do it myself? And I think I could answer that, but I'm not going to. What do our panelists think about, how do you evaluate the best route to go when those are the alternatives you're faced with? You mentioned WordPress, but should everybody try it or what?
So for me, it's always about budget and what I care about most. And so doing the research, seeing where my competitors are, understanding where kind of call it table stakes are, and then going from there. And, we all wish money was infinite, right? We wish it grew on trees. Unfortunately, it doesn't. And so you kind of have to pick and choose that, hey, look, the website's important to me. It's going to be a featured thing. My competitors have a great website. I need one too, so I need to hire it out. Or, hey, I'm going to try it myself, see how far I get, see what I learn. And then when I run into a problem, then I'll hire it out. And so it kind of depends on where you're at as far as you're competitive and then what you're capable of as well.
So,
Okay.
Bill, to add on to what Craig just said, so a lot of it is looking at your competition. If you're not on the website, if you're not looking around at your competition, then you're like a stork with your head in the ground. you've got to be looking around and seeing what's happening in the marketplace. It's not just SEO, not just SEM. It's really everything about marketing your product. You got to know what's happening. And when you get a view of what's happening, you start to say, oh, there may be a gap here. There may be a place here for me. Maybe this makes sense. But if you're not doing that, you are missing out on a great opportunity.
Okay, let me shift to a different thing, budgeting. So if you're in business and you're looking to the next 12 months and you want to spend money on different things, hiring people, marketing, maybe some office space, whatever, what kind of thought should you be giving to how much money to put towards marketing? How do you decide that? And what are some reasonable percentages or dollar figures? What do you think?
I'll take that one. Having managed many a market budget and stuff like that. Let me actually go to the SBA. The Small Business Administration statistics show that 85% of all small businesses spend around 7 or 8% of their revenue on marketing. All right, so that's, from a percentage standpoint, that's a good place to be. A lot of existing companies, widen the range, and it can be 5 to 10% of sales. The caveat that I would add to that would be dependent on where you are in your small business life cycle. A new company versus an existing company that's got a long track record. An existing company with a long track record, if we start there, they've got, let's assume, an increasing revenue line over time, and they've got a lot of customers, and they're at most of capacity. They may be spending a lower percentage on marketing, because they're kind of in I don't want to say cash cow, but they're in a maintenance role, and they may be able to spend less on marketing than my comparator, which would be a new business that's early on in its infancy and trying to grow. They're going to have to spend a fair amount of money and a fair percentage if they even have revenue, because they've got to get awareness of their company. They've got to get interest in their company and the product or services that they provide. They've got to create the desire for their product and get the consumer or the target customer to take action. So in addition to kind of giving just some thumbnail statistics of 7 to 8% of revenue, I would say that consider where you are in your business, because as you start up, you'll probably need to think about, okay, I'm starting up, I got to spend a higher percentage than a mature business. And percentages is one thing, but what's the absolute dollar amount that we're talking about? I mean, if you've got $1 million business and you're going to put 7% of your revenue into marketing, that gives you $70,000, if I'm doing the math in my head right, to apply towards marketing. But then the additional challenge is to how am I going to spend that 70,000? I've done my market research, and of that 70,000, which is, let's say, 100% of your marketing budget, what percent are you going to put into marketing channel A versus B versus C? Good question.
Can I add to this that maybe this is just me, so I'd love to hear from the rest of the group, but most of the clients that I see come into SCORE do not put enough budget. They don't put enough budget aside for marketing. It's kind of they've done everything else, and that's sort of the last thing on their mind are the dollars to do that. So pre-thinking it would really help. But I don't. Do you guys see the same thing or not? And Jeff, I'd put you in that. It's not just SCORE.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of people, right, it's that afterthought of, hey, I got my business set, I'm getting materials, or I'm getting people, things like that. And then, well, I need more customers. And it's like, well, okay, marketing's a way for
Right.
you to get more customers.
Right.
And, a lot of times, sometimes there's not the awareness or the knowledge of marketing in general, right? It's, hey, I'm just going to do a direct mail campaign, or hey, I'm just going to
Right.
put something on social. And so hopefully through this webinar, you've learned kind of having that plan, doing the research, and then doing the tactics through it, that you can get more encompassed and have better results because of it, instead of just, I'm going to try this one thing, I'm going to try this one thing, and then not really get the results for it.
So Craig, what I frequently hear is, I'm going to use social media. Not how, but I'm going to use social media. Well,
Yeah.
How many followers do you have right now? Well, I have about 100.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't know if you guys hear that. I hear that, and I wish people would stop for a little bit and think about it some more, and then decide how much money do you need and where should you put it.
Yeah. And unfortunately, the social media market has changed drastically in the past couple of years. So it used to be all about followers. Anything you put out, your follower would get, and now it's not. So you can have 1,000 followers. They don't actually get every one of your messages now. You have to pay in order for it to actually be seen by all your followers. And so it's changed to a media, just like you put in a newspaper, just like you put on TV,
Yeah.
you're paying for those eyeballs, for those posts to be seen. And so just putting it out on social, you need to be more targeted than that. Social can do amazing things when you're targeted. So there's so many ways you can kind of add things. So if you have email addresses, you can take those, put them in Facebook, and do an ad campaign targeted to those email addresses based on what Facebook knows. And you can be a lot more targeted versus just, hey, I put out a post, right? And I'm sorry, no one cares and no one responds. And so it's definitely about being targeted, once again, to your audience. So where they're at, and being as specific as possible.
I'm going to switch topics here. And it's an interesting question. A person says, well, I'm kind of lucky. I don't think I have any competition. What I'm doing is pretty unique. So should I even have any marketing activities going on in my business? There's a dog that wants to answer that when I hear him barking.
Maybe
That is
Leslie
my
can
dog. Remember the dog.
So any takers?
Yeah, I'll take that for the beginning. I would challenge that there's really no competition out there. What I heard the question was, I've got no competition, so should I market? I mean, if there's truly no competition, you should still market. Let me back up. Some people aren't aware of competition that they have and where it may come from. If there's truly no competition, then there will be soon. So it's important to market and keep the testimonials and keep that customer retention as good as possible. But even as much as they love you, if somebody comes in tomorrow offering the same thing at a lower price, they're going to go to the other customer. So you've got to market, in some way, shape, or form to retain those customers. But I would still challenge the initial assumption that I don't have any competition, because there's a lot of providers that come from a lot of different ways.
Okay.
And they're a good way to find out.
Got it.
Yeah.
I'm watching the clock now. We have 10 minutes left, and I think I have probably enough questions to make it well worth your while to stay to the end here. There were a couple slides that were shown that were incredibly busy and almost overwhelming. But if I had to do only one or two things in digital marketing, what would those be?
Yeah, so obviously, yes, there's tons of stuff you can do. And so the best one for return on investment is email marketing. So if you have email addresses that you've gained from interacting with customers, email marketing is the best return on investment. So that's definitely where to start. I think the second one is try a blog or a Facebook, as far as, once again, just seeing if your audience is out there, and seeing what kind of interaction you can get. But definitely email marketing, number one.
Everybody agree with that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Another question is, it's kind of a public relations question. One of the people on this Zoom meeting has a lot of credentials, has an interesting business, has been able to write a weekly column in the Current. And the question is, how do you break into the TV sort of publicity where they'll do a story on you, or where you can be known to them? How do you crack that egg?
I'll take the first stab at it, and I did read through that question, and the great news is that with so many credentials, with having already done a weekly column in the Current, and being recognized as a leader, a thought leader in the field, it's a great opportunity to build on those credentials to be able to develop a relationship. But boy, the first thing to do is to just go and see if you can get a meeting with a producer of the, and also it kind of depends on what your goals are and what you're trying to provide, obviously. So first, it's just about getting a meeting with producers who are doing this kind of programming. But the key is, what is it that you're trying to provide that is a service to the audience of the TV station's viewers? So if it's something that the TV station thinks is, we've got 10 other programs that already address this, then you're not going to get in the front door. If it's unique, the subject matter is unique, and it looks like a clear benefit to viewers, then the TV station is going to pay attention to you. And I think that the part of it is that it just can't be seen as something that is self-serving. It's you really, in this particular case, as a public affairs type of a program, are looking to provide something that is of general help, and not just helping you as the person that's going to maybe provide a service. There are plenty of other opportunities to purchase program time on TV. You can buy a large chunk of time. It will be in the middle of the night, not during prime time, unless you've got a lot of money. You can still buy prime time space someplace with a lot of money, but if you're looking to be there for free, then have something unique.
Okay, and speaking of for free, there's a question that says, one question came in and said, I think I need to hire somebody to do my website. Don't really know where to start looking for that person. And another question or answer came in from someone else that says, did you know that at the universities, they have website building classes where they do projects for free? I don't know exactly how to connect with the universities, but it would be it would be worth your while if you get something for free and it's quality work. You don't want to get the kid who's getting the F in the class working on your website. But what's the panel's answer to, where do I start this journey just looking for someone to help me with my website? That's not my strength. I've got my business skills, not my website skills.
Yeah, so I take it initially. You need to know what you want, right? So anybody can build you a website, and hey, here it is. But what functionality do you need? So, long day past, right? Where, hey, just a simple website, right, with text and an image, cut it. And so, Do you want connections with your social? Is it truly a e-commerce site where you're selling something? Are you doing reservations? Are you feeding into some kind of automation where people can contact you and you'll schedule a meeting with them? You have to figure out what you want first, and then you can kind of detail that. And once again, you can Google search, hey, this is specifically kind of a website that I want, and there's plenty of sources out there. The other would be the host. So whether it's GoDaddy, whether it's Wix, whether it's WordPress, depending on who you're hosting with as well, they have options that will help with that too, where they have designers specific to that platform that will help you build it there.
One quick question came in while you were talking. Is it a good idea to use text message marketing?
Yeah.
So it depends on audience.
I'd say this, don't send it to me.
So from my experience, worked with collegiate audience, amazingly successful. So, the college student, that demographic, everything text, great return and engagement over text. I think different people for specific things. I think of a dentist office. Hey, you have an appointment tomorrow, confirm yes or no. I think those kind of things work. I think similar to email, if you're just pushing out promos of, hey, 10% off today only, you're going to get blocked and banned. And so once again, consider your audience and then what you're offering.
All right, I want to do one more question, but I also wanted to mention something that I should have mentioned in the beginning. And that was that the Greater Lawrence Chamber of Commerce is co-hosting or sponsoring this particular webinar. They've let their members know that this is available, and we wanted to say that out loud. And so for the last question, I'm going to go way back to the beginning with Leslie's presentation and a mention she made about the value proposition. Leslie, could you tell us one more time or in a little bit more depth what exactly you were talking about, the value proposition? Now I have to figure out what's happening with Lesllie. Can you hear me?
It's muted. I'm sorry. I said it's a great question. We talk to people about business planning and marketing planning. We talk about value proposition. And the first time someone hears the term, they go, what are you talking about? And think again of an exchange. You have a product or service that has value to a customer. And the customer is willing to exchange money with you for that, how that service solves a problem or a need that they have. So if it's sometimes a need and sometimes a want. So I'm selling shoes, and my client looks at those and says, well, I need something that I can use when I'm running because my feet hurt when I use shoes that don't have good structure, support, that sort of thing. So the service is support for the runner in terms of a shoe. And the client says, oh, well, I will give you money for that. So the value proposition is what is being offered to solve a problem. Does that make sense? Does anybody else want to add to that?
No, I think that's good, and I think we'll leave it there. The takeaway for me on that is get a real good idea in your head about what's the deal here? What are you offering? Yeah. To whom, and will it actually result in a profitable business?
Right. The only thing I would add to that is it's not just the object. It's, remember the customer experience. It's what does it do for the customer?
Right.
What it solves my problem. I don't care what it is. I just need something that solves my problem. As soon as you do that, then you've got a happy customer.
Great. So we're going to end it here on time. We've had lots of great questions, lots of good information passing back and forth. I want to mention that Tom and Craig and Leslea are SCORE mentors. And when you receive your links to the slides and video, you can also click a button to request mentoring. And if you want to, ask for by name, go right ahead. But SCORE is here to help you, mentoring, webinars, and appreciate everybody joining us. So thank you, and I'm logging off. Thanks, everybody.